PPG, which unites 276 community organizations working to build a better Buffalo. Delighted to be joining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here on Power 96.5 FM and Mix 1080 AM, as well as on our Facebook page. Today we'll be joined by Doug Funke. He's with Citizens for Regional Transit. We'll be talking about a lot of the hot transit topics that have been in the news recently, the proposed extension of the Metro Rail to Amherst, the new downtown train station that plans for which have just been unveiled, as well as many other topics. Don't forget to follow PPG on Facebook and Twitter, and of course you can always get great information on our website, ppgbuffalo.org. The Public Good is sponsored in part by Univera Healthcare, real people who really care. Video of the show you can find on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ppgbuffalo, and you can find videos from previous week's shows on our YouTube channel. A few quick announcements before we get started, some upcoming events that you'll want to know about. On April 27th at 6 p.m., the Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology Young Researchers Team is going to present an in-depth review of race-related community disparities that negatively affect Buffalo youth. Their research focuses on educational and economic disparities, the school-to-prison pipeline, and healthy food access as pieces of the vicious cycles of poverty and oppression. That is April 27th, 6 p.m., Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology Young Researchers Team. Come and help the Crossroads Collective solidify the People's Platform. That will be May 2nd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's the People's Platform. It will include prioritizing fully funded public transit and education, safety for immigrants and other vulnerable populations, quality and safe, affordable housing, community control of land, real investment in worker cooperatives, and preservation of people of color and LGBTQ-led arts and cultural institutions. All those topics will be addressed as part of forming the People's Platform. That is May 2nd, 5:30 p.m. You can get more information about that from the Crossroads Collective or Open Buffalo or PPG. The much-anticipated Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center will open on May 4th with a special celebration featuring Wycliffe Gordon and the Buffalo Brass Machine. Friday, May 4th, a gala on Saturday, May 5th will feature performances by Drea Denor and a keynote address by Ellen Spears, the Community Resource Director from the National Parks Conservation Association. And on Sunday, there will be a community day with some limited free timed entry tickets for the Heritage Center and entertainment all day, including the Colored Musicians Club. Get your tickets for the opening events by visiting the Underground Railroad Heritage Center's Facebook event page. All right, with that, I want to welcome Doug Funke from Citizens for Regional Transit here to talk about public transit in Western New York. Doug, thanks for being on the show.
Okay, thanks for having us.
So a lot of hot topics in the news recently. There's been a lot of coverage of the NFTA's plans for extending Metro Rail out to Amherst. There's been articles about the plan for the new train station downtown. Let's start with that one. Tell us, how does your group feel about building the new train station downtown?
Well, we're very supportive, and we, as you know, I was on the mayor's committee that helped made the decision about where to put that train station, and our position was that we needed downtown station. The one we had was falling apart and a bit of an embarrassment. Mm-hmm. So that was what we thought was the highest priority. So that's what we supported. But our position was that we should also take a stand that because if we have a downtown station. We would need two stations because a downtown location can't handle westbound trains. Therefore, we will need a second station moving forward. Currently, that's Depew. We don't think that's a very good location or a very good station. We would like to see that become Central Terminal. So our position was, yes, highest priority, build a downtown station. We're glad that we did that, but to take a stand and have Central Terminal be our second station long term. In fact, as a member of the committee, I offered an amendment to basically say that, but it was sort of an expedited process, and I understand that there was a real tight deadline on that. But
you'd like to see trains back at the Central Terminal.
We would like to see that, and we're very encouraged that the governor has pledged $5 million to start to revitalize that space so it can become a very nice, not only a train station for Amtrak, but also a light rail station.
And that could replace the station in Depew, were you saying?
Oh yeah, that would go away. You don't need
station in Depew would go away.
That's right.
Have it. And you were saying that's important because the westbound trains can't go through the little station in downtown Buffalo that's getting redone?
That's right. The westbound trains will have to have a station
Mhm.
further up from where it lies toward the west.
Yeah. And you all have had a vision for a long time that includes the central terminal for light rail as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, light rail, I mean, the right-of-way that has been planned, if you look at the original plan for Buffalo's light rail systems, a 46-mile network of rail, light rail, it included right by Central Terminal. These are all publicly owned, existing rights-of-way. By and large, this is still true. The only one that's not is the one to Amherst, which will require some tunneling and some reconfiguring of roadways. But the rest of all the rights-of-way, including the airport line, publicly owned and available rights-of-way. That makes it. There's a couple of advantages to that. One is it's more affordable, much less expensive, and secondly, it's not disruptive. You know, one of the complaints, one of the problems whenever you build a light rail system is it disrupts business because you're ripping up streets and you got a lot of construction.
Right.
You know, when you have a right of way, it's not going to disrupt anything in terms of business, and it'll in fact attract business because it goes through the east side where there's plenty of opportunity for businesses to build.
So your vision is that the top priority for Metro Rail extension should be from downtown Buffalo to the airport via the central terminal.
That's right, and then even beyond the airport to a park and ride down by Transit Road. That was the plan, and that's been our highest priority going way back, and so we still support that as our top priority.
Let's just talk a little more about that. Why is that particular route, in addition to the fact that the right-of-way is already there, why would that be the top priority for you all?
Well, it's very badly needed. I mean, this east side of Buffalo is not well served. So it would go right through some neighborhoods who could really use a shot in the arm in terms of transit, but also in terms of transit-oriented development. We know that when you invest in light rail and public transportation, it stimulates economic development. So east side definitely needs that. Other places across the country have experienced that, where we've built rail, built expedited bus through some neighborhoods that were struggling. There's a stimulation to actually turn those neighborhoods around, and the east side is perfect for that. So, you know, in addition to being publicly owned right of way.
And talk a little bit about the importance of linking the airport to the downtown.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, we need multimodal transportation in this area. You know, you look at all over the country. You know, for example, the Republican convention. One of the criteria that they chose to pick Cleveland was because their airport is connected to public transportation. You know, and we know what happened at the recent Amazon Headquarter 2 RFP. They wanted a well-connected, transit-served region.
Right.
You know, we don't really have that. We could have that, and that's what we've been fighting for.
Right. So how about the extension of light rail to Amherst? It's getting studied now. Congressman Higgins has been in the press saying he's not so sure that's a great idea. What's your take at Citizens Regional Transit on extending the Metro Rail to Amherst?
We support it. It's always been our number two, very close number two, really. We need to get a light rail to the airport and to the Amherst campus. Those are both part of the original plan. They're both very high on our priority list. So even though it was number two, we feel because there's momentum right now supporting that extension. There's already been a initial study done and another one just kicking off now. You know, we're primed to do that. We've got support at every level of government, from the governor on down. We've got Amherst supporting it. Buffalo America Partnership is supporting it. I mean, everybody. And we're disappointed that Congressman Higgins, who has been our biggest supporter for investing in light rail for forever, has come out and said he hasn't completely said he's against it. He questions it, but he is supporting the study. And we're glad that he's doing that, and we hope that during the study he'll come around and be persuaded that it's a good thing to do. And at the same time, we can be studying the airport line, which is what we'd like to do.
If I'm not mistaken, mainly what he was saying was it might not be the highest priority. Not so much that it's a bad idea, but that he is very concerned with getting the downtown work and the DLW terminal work done. That's the most important. Is that sort of what he said?
That's kind of what he's saying, and we actually agree with some of that. I mean, we're very supportive of the DLW work. That's a very high priority. That gets the light rail towards the airport. It connects to the old DL&W right of way. which then connects up to the other rights of way that would get the light rail to the airport.
And that's a project that is going to happen, right?
The DL&W is going to happen. That'll be that. I think we'll see that happening in the next 5 or 6 years.
So that's the old, for folks who might not know, that's the old terminal building that is sort of adjacent to the hockey arena, and the NFTA is now extending, whereas now the last stop is sort of the hockey arena. Now there'll be one more stop that'll get you to that terminal building.
That's right. And in fact, that will be the hockey terminal stop.
It will be,
because there will be walkways connecting
cool.
that terminal on the second floor. What they plan to do is to have some escalators. Once you come in on the lower level, you can go up to the second level. They're looking to develop that as part of our waterfront, part of Canal Side, with commercial, shops and so forth. But then there'll be a walkway across to the arena, all indoors. So,
all indoors.
So you'll be able to go to a hockey game, and once you're at that last stop, the DL&W terminal, you'll be able to go up and cross the walkway to the arena. And the nice thing about that is that the other end of that building, where the light rail will be going, continues and it goes to the airport, which can be done incrementally, which is a big advantage, because you can get it first to Larkinville. It's only a couple of miles. It's affordable. And then you can take it to Central Terminal, only a few more miles, and then a few more miles to the. But so you can do it in steps, which is how we see it kind of happening. If we get spend the big bucks on the airport, or that was on the Amherst extension, because that has tunneling, is going to be expensive.
Yeah.
We can be starting to get our way towards the airport, do both at once.
Back to the Amherst extension, you said that's been your number two priority. You're very supportive of it. What are some of the special benefits to extending light rail to the Amherst campus of UB?
Well, for one, we're running buses out there now, so by eliminating all those buses, all those the first day that light rail opens, it doubles ridership. You've got 25,000 people a year who will, a day, who will be riding that light rail from the Amherst campus to the thing, and it'll serve the campus. It'll connect the campuses. Right now, anybody who wants to go out to that Amherst campus, they do have the buses, but it's very difficult to get there. It's kind of isolated out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of Amherst. By connecting it with light rail, it brings it closer to the city, and it'll serve everybody. I mean, people in the city who want to go to university will be able to hop on the light rail and get to the courses, to the classes.
What are some, as transit authority is weighing light rail versus buses, what are some of the pros and cons to those two different modes of transit?
Well, I mean, light rail. First of all, light rail is electric, so it's hydropower, so it's very green. It can carry more people. It's more efficient in that sense. And it's also light rail. I mean, you carry a lot of people, and you design them along, high priority corridors where you need a lot of people to be moving.
Right.
Where buses are much more able to go to lots of different locations more selectively. So those are kind of the differences. And buses don't carry near as many people as a light rail does.
You all do a great job advocating for better bus service as well. So I just want to make sure people don't think that you're just about light rail. I know that's an important priority for you, but I know you also do a lot of great advocacy for better bus service for the region.
In fact, we are pushing that. There's a plan plan to study bus rapid transit along Bailey Avenue. There's a program already underway along Niagara Street to make that bus more efficient, with some prioritization for buses, much nicer bus stops, and we support that very much.
Tell us a little bit about that. So for people who haven't heard that term, bus rapid transit, what does that involve?
It's a sort of a combination. It's a bus, but it's on a dedicated right of way, so you don't have to compete with regular traffic. So you're on on a dedicated lane for most of the way. Now there are some places where, because of the width of the road or wherever, your bus will have to go in traffic, but by and large, and I think the spec on it is like 80% of the route has to be or something.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure the number, but there is a specification that says if you want to call it bus rapid transit, there's you have to have like 80%
so the
of
bus
the route
gets its own lane, which I assume makes it go faster.
Goes faster.
And are there other advantages or other features to bus rapid transit?
They usually, because they're along high priority corridors, they're more demand, so quite often you'll have an articulated, larger and longer bus that can hold more people, and you'll have more frequent buses. So it's kind of like a mini light rail. You're increasing service along a high priority corridor, but you're not having the expense of having to dig tunnels or to do light rail, and you can do it with buses.
And if I'm not mistaken, they sometimes add other amenities as well, like lights that are specially timed to make the buses go faster.
Right, the buses get priority at lights and so forth. That's right.
And then even getting on the bus, that you can often with bus rapid transit, you can enter from multiple doors, not just from the front.
That's not all, but sometimes that is true.
Yeah.
If you have a prepay capability, then you can do it. Now, it might be possible with the new payment plan that the NFTA is putting in place, and within the next year it'll be a electronic card kind of a system that you can have an account and you'll be able to use your card and get on. And other cities like New York City, they're doing a major upgrade of their bus system in addition to their trying to fix their heavy rail system. And one of the things that they're saying they're going to do is to have all door entry. So that'll be an electronic payment ability when you'll be able to go in all doors and scan your way in and let you in.
So you'll have a bus card that you'll scan. And did you say the NFTA is moving towards that as well?
The NFTA is doing that, but they aren't planning to do all door entry at this point in time. But I'm saying that capability could potentially enable that in the future.
So with what the NFTA is planning and changing their payment style, will you still be able to pay with cash as well, or will you only be able to pay with a card?
My understanding, and this is still being developed, it'll only be you have to have a card to use the system. But there's going to be lots of ability to buy cards all over the place, like in drugstores or wherever. So it's not going to, and it'll be places at the like now on the machines along the light rail, I believe. So I mean, they are going to make it easy as possible, but you will have to have a card to use them. That's my understanding.
Interesting. Yeah, is that something that you all are in favor of, or against, or neutral? How do you feel about the payment?
We're in favor of that. Yeah.
And why is that? What's better about the cards as opposed to the current system?
Well, it's more efficient, and it also provides data, so you can see how many people are riding the bus, and you can tweak the service based on ridership, and you can look at the effect of that. But most importantly, it's more efficient. You can get on enough quickly, more quickly. So.
Yeah, interesting. You all are also working on a concept called regional rail. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Let me just make one more point on bus systems. And one of the things that we've heard a lot about is that bus transit ridership is down across the country. And that's true. It's true in Buffalo, too. There's lots of reasons for that. And one of them is low cost of gas, but there's other reasons as well. But that's not the case everywhere. There are some cities who've actually gone up in ridership, and a couple of examples are Houston and Seattle. Houston particularly because they have revamped and really redesigned their bus system, and they completely redesigned routes and schedules based on input and a study of people's needs, and their ridership has gone up, in fact. And the NFTA just completed a similar study for our bus system, which would change. It wouldn't change the routes too significantly. Some routes will probably change if they implement this, and we hope they do. But it would provide more frequent service in the core of the city and somewhat less frequent service out to the suburbs where there's not a lot of ridership. And you've got empty buses running out there. They still get service, but it wouldn't be quite as frequent. But you have much more frequent service in the city. And that's something that's one of that is probably the most important determinant in terms of ridership that we found everywhere else. Where Houston has increased frequency as one of their outcomes. New York City is looking at that as well. So we hope we can do that here in Buffalo too.
All right, before we leave buses, because that's certainly an issue that's been important for us at PPG, are there things that cities like Houston, are there other things that they're doing better that we can learn from in terms of improving our bus service here in Buffalo, besides just getting the routes right?
Well, it's getting the routes right, getting the schedule right, and increasing service. They actually enhance service in Houston. And there's more. It's costing more too. So there is a cost element. So those are some of the things. There's a big push for bus rapid transit all over the country. So we need to do more of that. And even where you can't have bus rapid transit, where you don't have room for a dedicated lane, you can go to expedited service where you you have priority at lights, you have, bump outs with stops, which give some priority to buses. They don't have to fight their way back into traffic and things like that. There's lots of things you can do to improve service, even if you don't have bus rapid transit, a full bus rapid transit capability. So.
Yeah, but it sounds like one thing that the cities that are getting better bus service are doing is that they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to invest some some additional public money to have better bus service. And I know you advocate strongly for more funding for public transit.
We need to fund it better, and that's one of our. We have a petition out there. We've got many organizations who have signed it. PPG signed it. Voice Buffalo has signed it. We've got mayors of many cities and town councils across the region: Niagara Falls, the Tonawondas, Cheektowaga, many. All over and we're continuing to push that. It calls for three things, and it calls for multimodal connectivity, including a new bus train station, which we're happy we're going to get now. It calls for extending light rail along high priority corridors, which we talked about, and it calls for better funding. And one of the other cities like Houston and Denver and places, they have been willing. There've been a lot of public, resolutions on ballots, to actually increase taxes to improve service. I don't know if we can do that in New York. It's more difficult in New York, but that's how they've done it. But there's a lot of public support for better funding for transit. We've been pushing for that. We've got a lot of support from Sean Ryan, Tim Kennedy, at the state level, which is where that funding is going to have to come from this year. Sean Ryan was leading with support from Tim and the other senators and assemblymen in the area, in the region, and we were able to get increased funding for maintenance of the light rail system.
Right.
So there'll be a dedicated fund now for that. That's the first step. It's not enough. We need better.
Yeah.
And they continue to work with us to make that happen. So we're very supportive of that.
And that was that added funding for Metro Rail was only fair because the state's formula doesn't account for the fact that Metro Rail is more expensive to operate than buses, and so it funds cities like Albany and Rochester and Syracuse and Buffalo all the same, even though we have more expenses because we have light rail and they don't. So glad to see some kind of fairness in the state budget process around that.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. Good. All right, let's turn to talk a little bit about regional rail because I know you have an event coming up that we want to be sure to tell folks about. So, what is regional rail? What does that mean?
Well, it's just it's sort of a high end. It's more bigger than just than light rail. It connects a whole region. Like in New York City, you have Metro North and all the. It's sort of like a train. It's really a bigger train. We wouldn't be quite that big here, but it would connect. In our vision, it would connect Buffalo to Niagara Falls. And now that Niagara Falls is a brand new station right down on the river down in Niagara Falls, we have one coming here in Buffalo. It's a great, perfect opportunity to building regional rail connecting Buffalo to Niagara Falls.
Right.
And when you connect that with the idea that Toronto, this booming metropolis, is, they're growing by like 2 million people in the next few years, which is more than our whole population.
Right.
They're just bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
They're extending their regional rail, which is the GO system, I think it is. But it'll connect Toronto with Niagara Falls, New York. So our vision was, we could have a regional rail that connects Buffalo to Niagara Falls, and those two can connect. And I know Tom DeSantis, who's the planner up in Niagara Falls, New York, his plan is to have that Canadian train come across the bridge and just stop on our side. And they can't operate in the U.S. because of licensing and all kinds of issues, but they can come and you'd be able to get off on our side, and then we could have a rail that they could hop on and then come to Buffalo. So that's sort of our plan. If you look at the whole thing, there's 8 million people who come to Niagara Falls, just tourists, every year. Very few get to Buffalo. Now we have a real nice waterfront and canal side and lots of attractions up here. We're going to have the Children's Museum. We've got the Pierce Arrow Museum. I mean, all kinds of really great, the Servicemen's Park.
Within walking distance of the downtown train station.
That's exactly right. So it makes sense. We have a program on May 1st to talk specifically about that. Our main speaker is Congressman Brian Higgins. He'll be talking about that. It's a concept that he has been promoting for a long time.
Great.
Also connecting to Rochester too. So he's going to talk about his vision of that, and then we have a panel which is Pat Whalen, who is he's the vice, get this right here, I gotta make sure I don't misstate his, he's the executive director of Niagara Falls Global Tourism Institute, and Bruce Becker, who's vice president of the National Association of Rail Passengers. And they will then be part of the panel to take questions and provide their perspectives.
Yeah. So right now you can take the train from Buffalo to Niagara Falls and back again, but it's not that easy yet. So tell us about what the difference between what we have now is and what we should have under your vision of regional rail.
What we have now is we just have Amtrak, and there's only a couple of trains a day, and it's pretty expensive. It's Amtrak. Regional rail tends to be less expensive. It carries more people, hopefully, but it tends to be less expensive, and it would run probably once an hour.
So
something like
it would not be operated by Amtrak. It'd be operated by who? Who would run it?
That's the big question.
Oh, okay.
Nobody knows the answer to that question, and it's being explored.
Okay.
We don't know.
Who runs like the regional rail at New York City?
They have their own organization. I don't know, to be honest with you, but it's Metro North. It's a separate organization.
So it's not the same as the MTA that runs
I don't
the buses and the subways?
believe so. I don't believe so.
Yeah. So it wouldn't necessarily be an FTA that would be running regional rail?
It's possible that
but
it could be. It's possible if they'd be willing to do that and interested. Yeah.
So regional rail, so currently it's just the Amtrak between Buffalo and Niagara Falls. It's kind of expensive and it's only one train a day.
Yeah, I think there's a couple a day.
Two a day.
I think there's something.
You're envisioning a cheaper ride that's like once an hour that gets you to and from Buffalo and Niagara Falls.
Right.
And you were saying that the Canadian government is now extending the regional rail from Toronto all the way to the Niagara Falls, USA.
That's right.
So we would be linking up to that. So would
potentially.
Potentially.
Yes.
So is part of the vision that this would be an easier way for us to go to Toronto as well as for Toronto to come to us?
That's right. Right.
Because certainly I think a lot of people in Buffalo want to go to Toronto more often but are frustrated by the traffic.
Yeah. And a lot of Canadians come over here too, and especially with the changing dollar values. We attract a lot of Canadians over here to go shopping. So, and one of the impediments to doing the connecting to Toronto is the border. It's very difficult.
Right.
It takes over an hour to get across the border, but there is some movement to improve that. We're going to learn more about that at our meeting on May 1st.
Right.
Which is at the First Presbyterian Church at 5:30. By the way.
May 1st, First Presbyterian Church
at Sympathy Circle.
On Sympathy Circle across from Kleinan's at what time?
5:30.
5:30. So 5:30, May 1st, First Presbyterian Church in Sympathy Circle. You can go learn about regional rail from Citizens for Regional Transit, and Congressman Brian Higgins will be the key speaker there, as well as some other panelists who are experts in this issue. So it's all about better connection by rail from Buffalo and Niagara Falls, but you also mentioned Rochester. Is there some notion of having them in the system as well?
There is, and they have a brand new train station as well. They're not very far away from here. So if you connect Rochester, Buffalo, and Toronto, you've got like close to 10 million people today, and then Toronto's going to make another 2 million more in the next few years. So you got a mega city there if you can connect it.
There's certainly a lot of people in Buffalo and Rochester who are going back and forth regularly for business, for family. You could picture there being some demand for a good train service. Would that also be able to serve commuters? So would it like stop in Tonawanda, and if you lived in Tonawanda, you could take the train to downtown Buffalo? Or?
That's all to be determined, of course. But I would think that it should stop in Tonawanda, especially for tourism. I mean, we're pushing. We've got the reconstructed Erie Canal here in Buffalo, which is great. It's going to be historic. There's going to be a lot of things to see and do. But in Tonawanda, we have the real Erie Canal, and I can envision, some canal boat rides that people might want to do and spend more time here doing it. So
fantastic. So urge people to check that out on May 1st. We are running out of time, but I want to thank Doug Funke from Citizens for Regional Transit for being with us today and for all the great work that you guys are doing on Metro Rail extension, on better bus service, on regional rail. A lot of good work happening there, so thanks for being with us, Doug. Next week on The Public Good, we'll be speaking with India Welton from Open Buffalo about marijuana legalization and about making marijuana the lowest enforcement priority for the Buffalo police. She'll be updating us on those campaigns and giving us the ins and out of drug policy reform when it comes to marijuana. It's The Public Good, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. here on Power 96.5 FM and Mix 1080 AM. Thanks.